It's August 20th here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. Starting with the 2024 U.S. Democratic National Convention. The four-day event kicks off in Chicago, where Vice President Kamala Harris is set to be officially nominated as the party's presidential nominee. Our party's 2024 policy platform also includes a vow that the United States will stand by South Korea and other allies to counter North Korean threats. The U.S. has given the green light for a sale to South Korea of $3.5 billion worth of defense equipment, including Apache attack helicopters, to help improve the security and defense capabilities of Seoul. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says Israel has accepted Washington's new Gaza ceasefire proposal, leaving the rest up to Hamas now. The U.S. Democratic Party convention now begins over in Chicago. And ahead of the four-day event, the parties come up with a new party platform emphasizing cooperation with allies, especially South Korea. Our Choi Soo-hyung starts us off.
With the upcoming presidential election in November, the U.S. Democratic Party has unveiled its new policy platform that clearly states its ongoing support for South Korea against North Korean provocations. On Sunday local time, the Democratic National Committee released the 2024 Democratic Party platform. In the platform, the Democrats emphasized that they have always stood with South Korea in the face of illegal missile enhancements by the North, and they will continue to do so. They also stressed that they will never turn their backs on their allies. On Monday local time, the opening day of the Democratic Convention in Chicago, the Democrats said that America is strongest when its partners are strong. They criticized former President and current Republican candidate Donald Trump, claiming that his actions damaged U.S. relationship with its allies, making the country less safe. The platform also stated that the U.S. will continue to lead the world and will work with allies in Europe and the Indo-Pacific to counter security cooperation between North Korea, Iran, and Russia. Meanwhile, the U.S. Vice President and current Democratic candidate Kamala Harris announced that she would raise the corporate tax rate if elected. On Monday, James Singer, a spokesperson for Harris's campaign, stated that if Harris wins the election, she will increase the corporate tax rate from the current 21% to 28%. Singer explained that this is a financially responsible plan aimed at reducing the tax burden on workers and ensuring that billionaires and large corporations pay their fair share. Trump had lowered the corporate tax rate from 35% to current 21% during his presidency. While Harris is planning a rise in corporate tax, Reuters has reported that her Republican rival Donald Trump has hinted at the possibility of eliminating the $7,500 tax credit for electric vehicle purchases in the U.S. if he is re-elected. Experts said if this tax credit is removed, it could directly affect electric vehicle sales and have a negative impact on the battery industry. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News.
The U.S. has approved the potential sale of Apache attack helicopters and other defense-related products to South Korea. According to the Defense Security Cooperation Agency, the U.S. State Department gave the green light to a potential government-to-government foreign military sale worth some $3.5 billion. This comes as Seoul made a request to purchase up to 36 Apache attack helicopters, as well as helicopter engines, Hellfire missiles, and more. The agency said the sale would support the foreign policy goals and national security objectives of the U.S. by bolstering the security of allies like South Korea. Now, the sale requires congressional approval. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says Israel has accepted a U.S.-led proposal for a ceasefire in Gaza and a hostage release deal. Now, Washington's top diplomat also called on Hamas to do the same. Lee Seung-jae has more.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in Israel on Sunday in the hope of getting Israel and Hamas to agree to a ceasefire and hostage release deal. During his visit, Washington's top diplomat also held talks on Monday with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Isaac Herzog. After their sit-down, Blinken said that Israel had agreed to the U.S.-led proposal, while calling on Hamas to do the same.
In a very constructive meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu today, he confirmed to me that Israel accepts the bridging proposal, that he supports it. It's now incumbent on Hamas to do the same. And then the parties, with the help of the mediators, the United States, Egypt, and Qatar, have to come together and complete the process of reaching clear understandings about how they'll implement the commitments.
Despite Israel's agreement, Blinken said that even if Hamas accepts the deal, a number of complex issues would remain for mediating nations and negotiators to work on, but did not elaborate on what those issues might be. But with past ceasefire deals failing, Israel and Hamas continue to blame each other for the lack of agreement. Hamas on Sunday accused Netanyahu of putting conditions on the deals that only benefit the military in prolonging the aggression in Gaza. However, Netanyahu on the same day stressed that Israel cannot just give and give, hinting that it's not willing to accept conditions put forth by Hamas. Meanwhile, Israel conducted airstrikes targeting a Hezbollah weapons depot inside Lebanon. According to a report by Reuters, citing security sources, the strike did not result in any fatalities. However, Lebanon's health ministry said 8 were injured, including 2 Syrian children. The Israeli military said that it conducted airstrike on a number of Hezbollah weapons storage facilities, adding that with the presence of secondary explosions, large amounts of weapons were destroyed in the attack. The latest airstrike is the second targeting Hezbollah weapons depot in the past 3 days, as the Israeli military targeted another on Saturday, leading to 10 deaths, including 2 children. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
And the 2024 DNC comes at a favorable time for Harris as she's really gaining momentum, and the latest polls show it. Will Harris' honeymoon period last, and if so, for how long? For more, we are joined by Voice of America correspondent Catherine Gibson this morning. Welcome, Catherine.
Good to be with you.
Catherine, first of all, walk us through the major events that are in store for the next 4 days. Who's going to be there and who's speaking?
Well, it's a lot to walk you through because it is a packed schedule these 4 days at the United Center behind me. We, of course, are going to be hearing from President Joe Biden this evening, introduced by First Lady Jill Biden, and the only other woman who's ever been a major party nominee, Hillary Clinton, the former Secretary of State. Then we'll hear from 2 former Democratic presidents tomorrow night, Barack Obama and Bill Clinton. And then the really marquee events of this convention, we'll hear the nomination acceptance speech from Vice President nominee Tim Walz. And then, of course, on the final evening Thursday, we'll hear from Vice President Kamala Harris as she formally accepts the Democratic nomination.
So lots of key figures with Joe Biden and being the headliner. And, as I mentioned earlier, this convention appears to be taking place at the right time, especially for Harris, considering, nationwide polls really show she's leading her competitor, Donald Trump. Is Harris far ahead of Trump?
So it shows a varying story in some of the key swing states across the United States. And that's what we know is really the important number to be looking at. In the overall national poll, she is doing much better than Trump. But again, because of the Electoral College, we need to look at those key swing states. Now, history teaches us that conventions always give a nominee a bump in the polling. So after this convention wraps up at the end of this week, we should see an increase in Harris's polling numbers yet again.
Well, isn't that why all eyes are on whether the convention will be an extension of the so-called, Harris honeymoon period, or maybe eventually on road to the end of it?
Well, really, nobody knows because we've never had such a shortened election season for a nominee before. We had seen President Joe Biden on the campaign trail. And of course, when he stepped aside in July, there was only a matter of 100 some odd days for Kamala Harris to introduce herself to the country and then campaign around the country. Her speech on Thursday night is going to be key in introducing herself to those voters around the United States who have not yet had a chance to hear from her.
On top of that, the convention is expected to draw, tens of thousands of anti-war protesters. How's it looking at the moment on the first day?
So we have heard there have been a handful of arrests from the protesters. I know, speaking from personal experience, that my shuttle bus here to the convention was reportedly stopped by some of those protests. So far, it's not caused any major disruption to the convention, though.
Well, that's good. Well, in the meantime, though, before I let you go, Catherine, what lies ahead for Donald Trump, though? Like, what is he up to while, Harris keeps herself in Chicago?
Donald Trump is headed to the U.S.-Mexico border soon. He'll be talking about one of his favorite topics, the issue of undocumented immigrants, what he calls illegal immigration. Expect him to be hitting Vice President Kamala Harris really hard on that issue, saying that she has worsened this problem.
Alrighty, Catherine, thank you so much for your report today. We appreciate it.
Good to be with you.
Coronavirus has been going around here in the country, and this is causing alarm bells to ring, especially as schools here are now reopening after summer breaks. Our An Sung-jin has this report.
As students start to head back to school, the rise of COVID-19 is looking to hit its peak. According to the Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency on Monday, by the end of August, there's expected to be up to 350,000 COVID-19 infections per week. This figure is close to last year's peak. The agency has pledged to pay closer attention to spread-prone areas and to stabilize the supply of medicine and test kits. This comes as the Disease Control Agency announced that following a cabinet meeting on Monday, approximately 300 billion won, or $224 million, will be allocated to buy additional medicine for COVID-19. This is enough to treat 260,000 people. Securing a budget for more has been crucial as usage has surged by more than 40 times over the past month. The additional supplies will first be provided to high-risk groups and then successively to pharmacies nationwide to stabilize supply. In particular, authorities are paying close attention as most elementary, middle, and high schools across the country will begin their second semester this week. An official from the Disease Control Agency added that COVID-19 prevention guidelines were distributed to schools last week. Those who have been infected should rest at home and return to school once symptoms have disappeared. They also emphasized that a student's period of absence will be recognized as attendance. Authorities have also tightened the criteria for what is classed as a mass infection at high-risk facilities from 10 people to 2, blocking further spread as early as possible. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
To lessen the burden of childcare and educational expenses on parents, South Korea has introduced the Neulbom School program that looks after elementary students before and after regular school hours. The system is now expanded nationwide starting the new semester. Our Iuni tells us more.
On a weekday during summer vacation, first graders at an elementary school in Gyeonggi-do province are engaging in a variety of activities. This is part of the Neulbom School program, introduced in March of this year and expanded in the second semester, to provide education and care services for elementary students before and after regular school hours. Education reform implemented by the South Korean government this year has made significant strides to address childcare challenges and ease the financial burden on families by integrating existing childcare services and after-school activities into Neulbom School. Currently, Neulbom programs are available to all first graders for free, unlike existing childcare services and after-school programs. Most importantly, the operating hours are longer, starting as early as 7 a.m. and running until 8 p.m. as needed. Songlin Elementary School is focused on providing a wide variety of classes that cater to the needs of students, spanning from dance to computer programming.
Surveys of parents showed a strong interest in more diverse programs, including more physical activities and better support for students to adjust to school. The launch of the Neulbom School program has allowed us to address many of these suggestions, which is very fulfilling as the program coordinator. I'm growing more confident in our school.
Following its trial run last year, Songlin Elementary School was awarded with an Excellence Award from the Ministry of Education. Through planning and preparation, the school made key adjustments to better run the program. To ensure the success of the program, it is important to address several concerns, including shortages of classrooms and teachers. Let's see some approaches to address these issues.
Using the same classrooms for the new after-school programs caused inconvenience, as teachers had to clear their classrooms. This year, we reviewed available spaces, repurposed small and underutilised rooms, and changed the classroom furniture to meet special needs. Now, regular classes and after-school programs run smoothly without conflict.
To address teacher shortages, the school brought in instructors from the city's dance association.
Whacking is the most fun dance. I'm excited to come to school for dance class. Dancing is really fun.
As part of its Neulbom program, Songlin Elementary School is already expanding its range of programs to include students from other grades. Cheerleading is one of the programs.
At first, being the only guy made me worried about feeling left out, but everyone has been very supportive, and practice has been a lot of fun. I'm excited to continue cheerleading in the future.
With collaborative efforts from both the government and schools, Neulbom School will expand to include second graders by 2025 and serve all elementary grades by 2026. Lee In-hee, Arirang News.
Good morning, I'm Kim Si-young, and this is The World Now. Russia said Monday that Ukraine had struck and damaged a third bridge in Russia's Kursk region, as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy said creating a buffer zone in Russian territory is the final goal of the incursion. Zelenskyy added the incursion was achieving Kyiv's objectives, including stretching Russian forces and creating a buffer zone to bring the war closer to an end on fair terms. Ukraine's leader also hinted at further offensives as he asked Western allies to allow Ukrainian forces to use donated long-range weapons to target deep inside Russia, saying that the Russian invasion could be halted if such a decision was made. Kremlin foreign policy aide Yuri Yushakov reacted to the latest attack on a Russian bridge by saying Ukraine's incursion had pushed the prospect of peace talks further away, before adding that future talks would depend on the situation on the battlefield. Zelenskyy also said on Monday that Ukraine now controls over 1,250 square kilometers and 92 settlements in Russian territory. Now to Italy, where one person died and 6 people are still missing after a luxury yacht was struck by an unexpected storm off the coast of Sicily early Monday morning. A search operation is continuing for those missing, including British tech tycoon Mike Lynch and his 18-year-old daughter. According to the Italian Coast Guard, the 56-meter-long British-flagged sailboat was carrying 22 people and anchored just off the port of Porticello when it was hit by a ferocious storm and sank. Authorities said the missing 6 come from America, Britain and Canada. The sailboat, named Bayesian, was owned by Lynch's wife, who was among the 15 people rescued. Reports say the yacht capsized at about 5 a.m. local time on Monday, with its wreckage lying 50 meters underwater. A Peruvian university has reported that it has achieved the birth of the first successful clone of the Peruvian Paso horse. The researchers at the Universidad Nacional Toribio Rodriguez de Mendoza use somatic cell nuclear transfer technology to clone what is regarded by many as Peru's national horse. William Bardales Escalante, director at the university's Research Institute, said on Saturday that a sample of epithelial tissue was used where fibroblast cells were obtained from for the clone embryos before being implanted in the female horse. According to another researcher at the university, the purpose of the clone project was to preserve and reproduce animals of high genetic value. A rare astronomical event was observed on Monday night across the globe as a supermoon and a blue moon coincided to light up the night sky. According to NASA, Monday marks the first of 4 consecutive supermoons expected this year. However, the combination of a supermoon and a blue moon is a rare phenomenon. A supermoon occurs when the moon is at its closest point to Earth in its orbit, making it appear significantly brighter and larger. A blue moon occurs when there is a second full moon in a calendar month or the third full moon of a season, which has 4, as was the case this time. The blue supermoon is expected to fully appear for 3 days, allowing an evening spectacle for sky watchers across the globe.
Good morning. Typhoon Jongdari is forecast to have a powerful impact on the south coast and Jeju Island. Right now, the typhoon is passing through waters south-southwest of Seogwipo and will pass west of Jeju late this afternoon before reaching waters west of Mokpo tomorrow at dawn. A typhoon advisory has been issued in waters of Jeju, and heavy rain alerts are in place for parts of Gyeongsangdo provinces. And these typhoon-related alerts will expand in southern regions as the day goes on. Heavy rain of 30 to 50 millimeters an hour will lash down from the afternoon along with strong winds, but central parts of Korea will see passing rain instead during the day today. Despite rough weather, the heat will not subside this afternoon. Seoul gets up to 36 degrees Celsius, Daegu, Gyeongju topping out at 35 degrees. Now, on and off rain in the forecast through Thursday with a slight drop in highs, but it will jump right back up heading towards the weekend. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
That wraps up our morning edition of Arirang News. Thanks for watching.